One of the nation's largest not-for-profit providers of senior care and services is based right here in Sioux Falls and has a new leader. Not yet 40, Nate Schema is a long way from needing the services of the Good Samaritan Society himself, but he is focused on positioning the organization for the future. So new year, new job for you. January 1st, you became president and CEO. I guess, first of all, why did you want this job?
I grew up in this company. I started 15 years ago in a small community way down in New Mexico after kind of migrating south here from the Midwest. I can't say that when I first started with the Good Samaritan Society, I said, hey, in 15 years, I'm going to be the president and CEO. My goal was to continue to serve people. It was to bloom where I was planted.
And he did. After 3 years, and after meeting his future wife, he moved on to a more urban role in Albuquerque, New Mexico, then a regional role in Nebraska, and then to Sioux Falls, where he became Chief Operating Officer in 2019.
I don't know many people who grow up, who go to college thinking, I want to work in senior living. I want to work in long-term care. Did you?
I kind of blame my parents and my grandparents and all the nurses in my family. In many ways, I feel like they kind of nurtured me, and I grew up, around a lot of wonderful, dynamic women, and I often found myself listening a lot, but I was in a position where I was going to school, and I said, I want to be able to serve, and I want to be able to do that sooner than later. So coming out of school, it was one of those things where I had an opportunity to take a numbers route and go and crunch some numbers and do some analyst things. But I also had this really unique experience coming in college to be able to serve in long-term care, and it grabbed a hold of my heartstrings. And it was something that I just couldn't quite shake. And so when I was presented with the opportunity to be an administrator in training here at the Good Samaritan Society, I saw it was a calling, and it was something that I just wanted to take a run at, and I've just been incredibly blessed ever since.
Which tells you that Schema sees blessings amid challenges.
I don't know that there's ever been an easy time to be in senior care. I am wondering if there's ever been a harder time, though.
Reflected on this day and age quite a bit here, coming through the pandemic, it's been an incredible 2 years. And I'll be the first to say nobody wants to repeat those 2 years. That said, I do think that we're in a different place today.
However, that place unquestionably needs more people to work, which earlier this year led Schema to make the difficult decision to close some locations in Nebraska and Kansas.
It's always the last resort, but it wasn't for lack of people in many of these cases where we had plenty of seniors to serve, but we could not find the applicants. Right now at the Good Samaritan Society, we have over 2,500 open positions. And while we're, I think, well positioned to be able to figure this out, it's not going to happen overnight. We need more international nurses. We need those visas to come through faster. Certainly we're working on rolling out the red carpet in a whole new way. How do we get more creative within this space, knowing that, we're a 24/7 business. I can't just say, we're going to shut down the lobby at 8 o'clock, or we're going to scale back our hours. We are 24/7. So it is incredibly dynamic. It's incredibly complex. And we need the government's help.
You have more than 2,500 open positions.
2,500 open positions. We have some places right now, unfortunately, where we've gone months and months without an application. And so while we have reasons to be optimistic about things changing, and just here over the last 30 days, we're starting to see glimpses of those hiring patterns picking back up. There's a lot of people that have left the industry and said, I need a break. I'm tired. I'm burnt out. And so again, we're looking at how do we engage those people with the same values, the same faithful, mission-driven core values that really drive our organization forward. People that want to come and serve. So it is incredibly challenging. I don't see that changing overnight, but I do believe we're well equipped within this organization to figure it out.
The Good Samaritan Society can meet some of its challenges with scale, though. Counting about 300 locations in 22 states, it also now leverages the strength of Sanford Health, following a merger in early 2019.
Unlike the acute care system, where there really are a more finite number of big players in the industry and business. The Good Samaritan Society is, we are one of the largest players in our space. There's about 15,000 providers in long-term care, but there aren't very many with the same size, scale, and reputation that we hold.
And it's worth noting, Good Samaritan Society recently made Forbes' list of best mid-sized employers in the nation, the only senior living provider recognized.
So that tells you, we're doing something right.
What are some other strategies that you have found are helping move the needle, even if it's just a little bit, or keep your people, which is just as important?
Absolutely. It truly has been a two-pronged approach. It's how do you keep your best people, keep them fired up and engaged, knowing that, right now it's moving so quickly. We've gotten pretty aggressive with our different incentive models and referral models. We're playing around with different ways that we might get creative with scheduling for some of our more senior positions. But again, as I alluded to before, we're a 24/7 business, and we need our people to show up day in and day out to provide that hands-on, very personal care.
And somebody's got to work the overnight shift.
Someone has to work their
and the
overnight
weekend shift.
Absolutely.
And all of that. You are a leader within your industry, your industry association as well. Give me a sense of where you see this industry going here. Post-COVID, have things changed? Were they already changing? Give me a glimpse into the future.
I have the unique distinction and honor to sit on our American Healthcare Association national board, and it's a group of amazing folks from around the country where we come together and really look at some of those big issues affecting our industry as a whole. I think we're at a time of enormous change, and there are some big headwinds, whether it's workforce, whether it's payment reform. People are looking at our industry going, well, maybe you're making too much money. There's been a lot of scrutiny around private equity in our segment of the world. And I'll be the first to say that, I think there's a lot of misconception around, what's funding and who's funding our industry. Yes, there have been some new players that have come to our industry, and quite frankly, I welcome it. I welcome the competition because I think it breeds innovation, it breeds new ideas.
Here's one such new idea, a dialysis program supported by Sanford that allows some Good Samaritan residents needing dialysis to receive that in the care center where they live.
We're serving a number of people that otherwise would have had to been carted all over town. Now we're able to get dialysis right in one of our skilled nursing facilities here in town. So those are just two examples of many.
Technology will play a bigger role going forward, he predicts, pointing to Sanford's plans for a new virtual care center being built in northwest Sioux Falls as one example of investments already being made.
As we look back and we reflect on where we were 100 years ago, starting off in an 8-room farmhouse in Arthur, North Dakota, I would just like the care looks so different today than it did 100 years ago. I have no doubt that you're going to continue to see innovation change the look and the feel of those we serve. Even in my relatively short career over the last 15, 16 years, you see people now in our skilled nursing facilities that would have been in the hospitals just a few years back. You see people in our assisted living environments where they would have been in our nursing homes. So I think you're going to continue to see that evolution and change. You're going to see consumer demand drive where and when they want to be served. I think part of the piece we need to continue to figure out, though, is this access piece and how far is acceptable. Because it's nothing for us to drive an hour up here in the Midwest, but when you start talking about a couple hours, that starts to be a totally different ball game, and I don't think that's okay. And so I think we at the Good Samaritan Society and Sanford Health feel an intense obligation to make sure that quality care is available close to home.
Let's talk about Sioux Falls, where you have a great variety of options for people, but this is a growing community and metro area too. Do you anticipate additional investments here?
I'm about 60 days away from some pretty dynamic and large announcements, but yes, I think you're going to see significant reinvestment in some of our, what we would call core footprint areas here that overlap with our Sanford markets. We have some pretty dynamic plans in the works, and I think you're going to see senior care look and feel a little bit different, and I'm excited about what that's going to mean for Sioux Falls in the not so distant future.
So help me get to know you just a little more as a leader. What would you say you're like to work for?
Oh gosh, I think that people know that I like to have fun. I would always say that I'm not a funny person, but I love humor. We don't take ourselves too seriously, so it feels like we're always giving each other a bad time about one thing or the other. I think that people know that I'm driven by excellence and results. You know, I've always felt like, you know, we can say all the right things, but we have to execute. We have to do what we said we're going to do. So I think people would say that I'm driven, and I'm really focused on execution. And you know, I want to continue to see this organization thrive for another 100 years. But we got to have a little fun along the way. You know, March Madness is here. I have no doubt that there's going to be some competitive banter around the office these next few weeks.
There's a little bracket competition going on.
Yeah, there's always a little bracket competition. Whose team lost? You know, Iowa. There's an Iowa guy on the team, and it was a tough day for him yesterday.
And what do you do when you are not working?
You know, I've got 2 boys, a now teenager that reminds me often that I'm growing older. So I feel like we're chasing the boys around a lot. Big sports guy, so lots of sports. Recently, I decided that, you know, I needed to pick up basketball again. So 2 weeks ago, I started joining this group in the morning, and I showed up for the first day, and I could tell there was some group of high school guys and gals looking at me. They're going, "This guy's out of place." And I asked, I said, "Hey, where?" They're like, "Oh, all the old guys play up front." I said, "Well, that's who I'm looking for. That's me." But it's been a lot of fun. But I've quickly realized that at near 40, I cannot move quite the same that I could here 20 years ago.
You've got a long career ahead of you. You have some things left you'd like to do?
You know, I really want to see this organization continue to transform. I want us to be, you know, on that national stage. I think we've worked really hard the last 2 or 3 years to regain that profile that I think maybe slipped a little bit to the background. It just wasn't maybe a focus of ours. But I really want to see this industry continue to shift and move and transform, because as you said, we have this silver tsunami coming our way. We're going to have plenty of people to serve, but we got to get this workforce thing figured out. We have to figure out, you know, where are these leaders that are called to serve in all these communities, whether they're in towns of 1,000 or here in Sioux Falls, that are growing day by day with some unique challenges. I'm completely humbled and honored to be able to be where I am today, and to be able to look around and look at this organization that's been around for nearly 100 years, where we've been, where we're going. I'm just very blessed.
We'd like to thank MarketBeat for sponsoring the first season of the CEO series. Watch for more interviews with CEOs making news throughout the year. And for all your latest business news, head over to siouxfalls.business.